We are talking to TL. We are talking to the winner of the 2023 Ultimate Elvis.
That's right.
We're talking about Cody Deonath. Hello, buddy.
Hey, y'all. We are. I am so glad to be on the show with you guys and talking all things Elvis, man.
That's right.
That's what we like to do. And we always tell people it's an Elvis party. We're not radio just jockeys. You're not an ETA today. You're Cody today. We're going to talk about Elvis. But, of course, you're an ETA, and we're going to talk about that, too. But, you know, we're going to have some fun in between. That's what we like to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cody the Elvis fan. That's who we're talking
Cody the Elvis. Then we'll talk to Cody the ETA in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But before we do get started, Cody, you got to tell us a little bit about yourself. We did read or we did hear that was your mom or your grandmother that got you into Elvis to begin with?
Yeah, my grandmother got me started when I was a very young boy. Still a very young boy.
Mm-hmm. You are, yeah.
But no, so I was a very hyperactive child when I was little. My grandmother, you know, nobody in the family could get me to sit still for anything. And, you know, she had the daunting task of babysitting me when I was around the age of 2. And she was actually sick with pneumonia.
Oh.
So it was a tall feat for Grandma Joe. And but she threw the Hail Mary pass of all Hail Mary passes, and she popped in an Elvis movie called Follow That Dream.
Yes.
And Follow That Dream, I'm sure you guys know this, was filmed around where I live.
Right.
Where I'm driving right now. Yankeetown, the nature coast of Florida. And, you know, Elvis was in my town for a year. And there are so many people in this community that still are so connected with him. He's so connected within our community.
Wow.
And I was mesmerized by this guy. And I just remember Elvis singing, you know, what a wonderful life, this life I'm living. And I'm like, oh my God, I was so locked in to the big brown box, as I used to call it. Didn't move for the hour and a half that the movie was. Then Grandma put in the Aloha from Hawaii concert, and I'll never forget the first time I saw him in that jumpsuit. There's a point where Elvis is on screen and he's singing, he's ending something. He does that side little grin. Like, I got the whole world in the palm of my hands right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, we just did that, right? And then he ends the song, and I'll never forget his smile. That's the most prominent memory of Elvis for me is his smile.
Yeah.
Because it just oozed through the screen, right? And I mean, the most genuine, like, human connection that I think anybody had, any entertainer ever had, performer, because you could just tell, like, he was there for his fans.
Yeah, and and fans know when they see that, especially like the ending Aloha where he's got his cape and he's ready to go and he looks over and he gets that grin, and I'm assuming he's probably looking at JD or somebody before he's getting ready to leave, but that look is not arrogance on his part. That look is like, can you believe what we just did, everybody?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, good Lord, like, what did we do? What just happened, right?
You can relate to that. You know that. Even if you know nothing about him, it comes across so genuine. Yeah.
And I read something about Faith Hill, you know, great artist, Faith Hill in the country music world. And she was talking about the presence he had and the relationship that he had with an audience.
Yeah.
That she could only dream of being able to capture that same thing. And artists today all wish they could do that.
Oh, yeah. They study him to try to figure out what it is. But it was natural to him. There really isn't anything they could really study and emanate, because I think it just came so naturally.
Right.
So that it factor.
He was the ultimate everything. He really was.
Yeah.
The slogan, before anybody did anything, Elvis did everything, is so true.
Exactly.
It really is.
Exactly.
You know?
So, Cody, let me ask you, is your grandmother still with us?
No, we lost her in 2012.
I'm sorry.
I had many years with my best friend, and she was a firecracker. She was a she had no filter.
Yeah, great.
Right.
I love her already.
She was what would she called herself? She goes, I'm just a dirty old woman. That's
I
that's
love
exactly what Grandma, you know, and she loved Elvis. And what I love when I explain Grandma's relationship with Elvis, she was a closet Elvis fan, right? Like,
oh, really? Okay.
She loved Elvis, like, but like, and people knew that she loved Elvis, but people didn't know how much Grandma loved Elvis. And really, when I got into it, it really gave her an excuse. Let the cat out of the bag. And even my grandfather, he was like, everyone was like, really? Like, you like him that much? Like, but like, obviously Papa knew, which is what I call my grandfather. Papa knew to an extent, but everybody else, like her daughters and my mom and my aunts, they were like, really, Elvis, really?
Wow,
like we're doing this, like. And then from there, I mean, I had my first live performance when I was 3 years old at my Denellen Christian Academy, and I didn't even sing with karaoke tracks. I was singing with it was Elvis. It was some sort of party album, like a compilation. It was a white CD, and it had a couple of different pictures of Elvis on it, and it had red font on it. And it was like it was the first Elvis CD I ever owned. And I think that I've never really told that some of these details, which I love having uninterrupted time to talk about this stuff. Really dive deep into my memory on like the details of it all.
Right, of how you ended up from the fan to the entertainer.
Exactly, and it really truly is something so unbelievable. I always say it was inevitable that I was going to be an Elvis fan. I don't know about the tribute point of it all, but I definitely think that it was inevitable on the sense of being connected with him forever, having my relationship with Elvis in a way of what Elvis means to me.
Right.
But I performed 2 songs. And I got up there and I had my little gold lame outfit on, and my grandmother on my dad's side made it, and they spray painted my gold lame boots or shoes at the time, and I didn't really do any. I was a very shy child, which is very hard to believe because I got such a big mouth now. So, I was telling my girlfriend's parents, and they were like, really, you were a shy child? I was like, I know it's hard to believe, but I was. But I got up there and I sang Heartbreak Hotel and Blue Suede Shoes. He said, well, since my baby left me, and then I do my little leg and I jolt. And the audience went nuts, and I was like, I remember going, I like that.
Oh yeah, that feels good.
Fun.
So you caught the bug at that moment, didn't you?
Yeah, and that was that, and that was another thing that contributed to the bug, as you said. And then I didn't want to get off the stage after I got done. I was like, no, I want to do the whole CD.
Wow.
And they were like, no, you've got to come off the stage. So, my parents, so blessed that I was able to have such support amongst the family, and me and Grandma never wavered in our fandom of this man. And I remember it was, the Elvis movies were so big in my childhood, right? I mean, like, so big. Like, I started watching, they only showed me Love Me Tender once. I remember that because I cried because Elvis died at the end, and I was like, this is awful. Like, so they were like, oh, okay, not gonna show them that. I remember after that, they found a music teacher, a vocal coach locally, and I started getting trained locally by a former Broadway opera singer, and I got to get in tune and really deep into the God-given gift that I have now, which is my voice.
So you found out you had pipes that you didn't know you had back then, huh?
No, I didn't. And I mean, she was like, he has perfect pitch. I don't know what you think or what he knows, but again, very hyperactive child. I'm learning more as I'm older now, but back then it was just like, I just knew where to sing, where to go, what to do with my voice, finding a key that worked. And, it just progressively got bigger. I'd started doing local gigs, I was known around the local area as Little Elvis.
Oh, that's cute.
Elvis's lightning bolt thing was TCB. Mine was LBE, little bit of Elvis. And I was like, Grandma thought that was I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Cause I mean, my biggest thing, my biggest goal in life was to aspire to be a sliver of what Elvis was. He's my superhero, you know? I mean,
Yep.
like, I looked at what he did, and it was like, oh my God, like, I want to be able to, you know, perform. And it's just, like, so incredibly touching to see the impact, not only that he had on my life, but, you know, I met younger kids just like myself who had love for Elvis, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't know that there were other kids like that liked Elvis. And I started going to the Elvis festivals and stuff like that. So
You're so fortunate to be that generation that came on at that time when Elvis's popularity after his death was starting to come back up. You know, Dan and I, we're in our 50s, so we lived through 77. And for years, and at the age that you're speaking of, that 10-year-old age, we had to fight to even get any kind of respect for him, because he was known as the man, the icon that died on the toilet.
Yeah.
And the chubby Elvis, because that's what they had been talking about before he died. You're that next generation that got to come on when all that was finally over. So how did you find your friends? Were they receptive?
well, you know, I wasn't a popular kid in high school, or well, not high school, but I mean, any time in school, until towards the end. You know, I feel like all of us have this story because we loved classic music and we didn't like rap. And I like all types of music, right? Like, there is not anything that I don't respect or have a love for if it has purpose and passion, right? If passion and purpose are intertwined and they work towards the bigger picture and your why, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That's something that my life coach has instilled in me in the last year. And I feel that with a lot of artists today, you know, but I also feel like most of the artists are just a cookie cutter, you know, here for a minute and gone the next, right?
Yeah.
That's really what I struggle with, because I was like, this isn't good, right? Like, this isn't good. Like, right after I figured out who Elvis Presley was, well, then I figured out who Jerry Lee Lewis was and Johnny Cash.
Right.
And then I figured out who Conway Twitty was, George Strait, Garth Brooks, all of those amazing, like Michael Jackson, Prince, Tom Jones, you know, Journey, Queen.
Cody, is this your
I'm quoting my
playlist?
playlist.
That was going to be a question.
Yeah.
I had that on my list. Ask him who he's listening to right now. You just told us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And honestly, out of the newer generation, I listen to Drake. I listen to Bruno Mars. I was into those people, and, you know, everybody else was really like, but I always seem to hit the status quo like a couple years late. Like, they're like, oh, you're like,
You're
what
behind.
are you doing? Like, like, I don't know. You need to be listening to Joe Schmo Blow or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to that. Like, I don't know
about you, but, you know, it takes us a while to warm up to other artists. Don't you think, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely.
It really does, because,
Yeah.
you know, if it's not from that generation of music, I really feel like, you know, once you're exposed to that at such a young age, you can tell that those people did not have passion, right? Like, like that, you know what I mean? Like the people that came after, and I mean, after the big, you know, when it started becoming so processed and so cookie cuttered in the music industry, you know, and when auto-tune became a thing, and, you know, they could construct a star, and they don't even have to be able to sing, and people are going to go out and see them.
Can you imagine, speaking about auto-tune and the way they do things now, can you imagine Elvis in the studio today, how he would be absolutely, I mean, he'd be a pain in their butt, because he would not want to have everybody separated in their own little, he'd want everybody together, and he want to do it old school. I mean, can you see him in the studio? Can you imagine? What
I mean, I could say, I mean, I feel like we all know how wild and crazy that man was, you know. You want to know what else I think he would have done?
Wow.
I feel like Elvis would not be with a major. I feel like he would not be with RCA. He would not be with Sony. He would not be with MG. None of it.
I agree with that.
Independent.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I feel like he would be like, yeah, watch this. You know, Graceland's already big. I'm going to build another edition. I'll build my own studio. I feel like he would have been a beacon for younger artists to continue the old school way of doing things.
Right.
You know, such as, like, you know, I have such a high respect for Vince Gill, right? Because Vince Gill does it the old-fashioned way, right? He's not a cookie cutter. You know, Vince Gill is responsible for Drake Milligan, one of my best buddies.
Oh yeah.
Me and Drake Milligan ran together on Elvis events because Drake Milligan was an ETA. I knew Drake when we were 8 and 9 years old, running around on the Elvis cruise put on by Elvis Presley Enterprises and Six Man back in the day, causing mischief on the boat.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's so incredible that one of us shedded the shell and became the next megastar of country music, because I believe that. I believe Drake is the next megastar, because there is no one else in country music that has the passion and purpose like Drake.
Right.
Yeah.
His songs are great. It reminds me of a young George Strait, a young Garth Brooks, a young Elvis, really.
Sorry, does Drake write his own music? Do you know? I don't know.
He does.
Oh,
he
okay,
does.
Great. Yeah.
What was so funny is Drake had auditioned for American Idol, got the golden ticket, and right after that, I was in Texas doing a show, and I said, "Hey, dude," I said, "Congratulations on Idol." He goes, "Oh, dude, I didn't take it. I dropped out." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, dude." He goes, "I'm not ready. You know, I'm working with people in Nashville. I'm writing songs every day. You know, they're ready for old school country music to come back, and I'm ready for it." And I mean, like, he put in the work and made it inevitable that he was, when he made his big debut, it was going to stick. It wasn't going to be a spark and then he was going to fizzle out. The spark was going to light the match, and he was going to, you know, ignite it, right? You know, but all that, you know, to say this, you know, Elvis is, you know, that's the impact that Elvis has, like you said, on the younger generation. I mean, like, look at Bruno Mars. I mean, we can talk till we're blue in the face on how many people that this man has. I guess how much he's woven into the tapestry of modern music and pop culture, because he is so prominent today and what we're doing. And I love how music today is mimicking music of the 80s and 70s now, and we're going. It's almost like we're going back. People are over the over-processed stuff. And there's more and more people that are like retro style. I'm hearing more and more.
Well, you know, it all circles back around on itself, because good stuff just never gets old. You know.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it circles
back. So true. But you know, coming from, you know, getting back on the topic of me and when I was younger, I really didn't start getting support from my peers until the last 2 years of my high school career. And I signed up for the talent show. You know, we lost grandma in 2012, my freshman year. So I really wasn't doing it a whole lot. And I kind of stopped, if I'm being honest. And I was just doing me. Like, I was just being a regular kid. I went through, you know, all my different phases. You know, I went through my wrestling phase, which that never left. I went through, you know, I'm a huge wrestling fan. So I mean, and you know, comic books and Batman and Superman, like, that never left. That came around to be cool again, and I'm like, oh my god, like,
you sound a lot like me, Cody. You know, you just named off.
I mean, like, we're probably cut from the same cloth.
I believe so.
He's just industry,
you know,
younger.
You know.
Yeah, right before we started talking to you, I'm looking at my phone. I said, "Look, TL, there's Batman coffee, Dark Knight, Dark Roast."
Hey, listen, that's it. Like, right? Like, I got my mugs. I got my Star Wars mugs, my Marvel mugs.
One day we'll have a cup of Bat coffee together, Cody.
Yeah, Bat cup. Yep, absolutely. We got to have it as a Bat cup. And I will bring my Bat cup, and hopefully we can do it before the show in Maryland. So amazing. It's been a dream of mine to come up there and do a show and bring my band and just really rock out and be able to do this stuff.
The fans in this area are going to love you. The fans in this area
this is
amazing.
Elvis country here. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, funny story. I want to circle back to that, because you know, Maryland has a very special place in my heart.
Oh, okay.
And I'll get back. I'll remind me to circle back to that when we really dive deep into the ETA stuff. But yeah, so I mean, like, I did my local I did my high school talent show, and I remember them just like they loaded everybody into the gymnasium, because it was an assembly and we were going to do the talent show before, so the whole school could see it, right? And I remember I had my blue Speedway jacket on from Lansky Brothers.
Great.
And, you know, black black jeans and black boots, and I had my hair done, and nobody, like, people knew that I had done Elvis, but like this was big for me because I really hadn't done it locally in a very long time.
Right.
Because Grandma passed in 12. This was 12, 13, 14, 2014. So it was 3 years after her passing.
Wow.
And the place just erupted. Like they lost their minds. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
This is cool. I never thought, and it was almost like I was whole. And it was almost like, you know, the universe, God, whatever you want to put it towards, was like, okay, this is come back around. This is what you need to do. Not just be a tribute artist, but you need to be an entertainer.
Wow. Yeah.
And because I mean, I had everybody in the palm of my hands. Like there was at least 2,000 kids in the gymnasium, and I mean they were just going ballistic while I was doing Hound Dog.
Wow.
And it was so cool, and I was fortunate enough to win the talent show that year. And you know, from that then on, I mean, I could have got away with murder. everybody
famous.
In school they were like, don't mess with Elvis, man. And I was like, Cody. They were like, that's Cody, don't mess with him. Like, that's my boy. Like, and I'm like, you know. So I mean, also, like, I had never been like a popular kid in high school or anything like that, but the kids gravitated towards it, and people became Elvis fans because of that. And that was the first time that I was like, I saw the shift in bringing people to him. They didn't think it was cool. Well, whoa, you mean Elvis could dance?
Oh,
dude,
I know.
He was the OG, right?
Right.
And then they see him and they're like, oh my gosh. And
this new generation, Cody, they're learning again, you know, because of folks like you, but also like things like Baz Luhrmann's movie. I mean, that's what we need. Yeah, that's what we need. We need them to show people that Elvis is not, you know, he's not like, what do you call it? Like a cartoon.
Yeah. But like we said earlier, for years, Elvis was like a joke in the music world. He wasn't taken serious.
Yeah.
People only knew Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel. They didn't know about all these great songs that Elvis did. They didn't know what an artist he was. They didn't know what a producer he actually was in the studio, and how, you know, they don't get that. But thanks to your generation now, and thanks to Baz and things like that, it is changing. Elvis is really got there's a whole new perspective on Elvis.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
It's getting way better.
And I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's incredible. Truly. So, you know, we like, from there, I mean, I graduated high school, and my love for Elvis, I just never stopped. I mean, at that point, I mean, before Grandma passed, my favorite was Elvis, That's the Way It Is.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like,
great one.
I loved that. And that's when like the internet was really getting super big, and YouTube was coming along, and you know, I found out about these things. I'm sure you guys know about them. They're called FTDs.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah, we use them a lot on the show. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I will never forget it. My first FTD that I ever owned was called Elvis the Summer Festival, and that has prominent. Yeah. That is a very prominent meaning in my life, and it all comes full circle later down the line. And you know, Grandma was, you know, I remember, you know, we went to Graceland. That's where I found them. Was at Graceland. Was in the shops across the street. Sure. And I was like, oh my gosh! And I was like, I want to buy all of them. I was like, when did this come out? When did this come out? And they were all like fan recordings, you know, stuff that they've gotten from the boards. That, and I was like, that aren't the mainstream things, that are only for people if you go to Graceland and you know what ElvisShop.com or Elvis. It was ElvisShop.com is, and you find these things. So I really into the deep in the B-roll footage and into the stuff after she passed, and just really became a fan of how just you really, like, you saw him as an entertainer and as a vocalist, but like, my gosh, the things that he did with the songs that people, you know, that aren't mainstream, that don't know that he hit an extra octave when he hit an extra note on My Way. Oh, you know,
my
instead
gosh,
of the way, and there's one where he goes, way
Yeah.
I'm like, where
yes.
did that come from? How
Yep.
did you even, what? Like,
Yeah.
those little things that I'm just like, that just amaze me. And on Bridge,
Yep.
like, you know, he never did a big note at the end of Bridge on tour, or
Mm-hmm.
that's the way it is. But he did big notes in Nevada Nights.
Yeah.
You know, at the midnight showing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the most prominent FTDs that I remember. Because
Yep.
it wasn't the Elvis norm set, right?
Right.
Like, he did the ones that he wanted to do, and reading the backstory on all these albums,
Mm-hmm.
on where he was at in his life, it really, you know, you can really piece together where he was at personally at that time as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
As an Elvis fan, like you're talking about, these FTDs are great because, you know, TL and I are in our 50s, as we were talking about. So when we discover something new
Yeah, it's a big
on
deal.
Elvis, it's like
Yeah.
celebration time, something brand new we've never heard.
Yeah.
And FTD does that a lot. We do a lot of that on our show. We use stuff from FTD. We love the alternate takes.
Oh my gosh, the alternate takes are so good. I never knew that Elvis had such a mouth on him.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
yeah, I know.
Cody, we do a nationally syndicated radio show, so I got to make sure it's G-rated. And editing Elvis is a task and a half.
And that's all I'll say. You know,
Yep.
and I know that it's a G-rated, you know, radio show, but the man was a sailor at times.
He's got we call him Elvis Potty Mouth.
Yes.
That's what we call him. Oh, more Elvis Potty Mouth.
My
Yep.
gosh.
Yep.
And you know, there is a disc that has floated around.
Oh, I believe that.
And
yeah.
I don't know if I'm revealing too much, but I'm gonna reveal it.
Go
No,
ahead.
Every guy in the industry has this disc if you're one of the guys.
Uh-huh.
And it's just all of the Elvis Potty Mouth that you could possibly want on one CD.
Right.
And I mean, it's my most prized possession because it's like he never took himself seriously.
No.
No.
He was always just such a fun-loving guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the human in all of that, right? It's like, oh my God, like, you think there was perfection, and 90% of the time, you know, what he thought wasn't perfection, we all were like,
Right.
why didn't you use that take? That was perfect.
Yeah.
And it was because of one little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank
little
goodness that he was like that, because
Yeah.
we wouldn't have all these great things to be talking
But
about
I gotta
now.
say, how frustrating it is, though,
Yeah.
when I find a song, this is beautiful, this is perfect, then all of a sudden, hey, mother, oh, Elvis, no, don't do that, and I gotta try somehow to cut that out.
No, don't do that. Yeah.
Without ruining the song. Yeah.
Exactly. And
That's so funny.
Just it's so amazing because people, you know, I got, you know, coming up, because I mean, you talk about, you know, I was part of this big wave. Elvis was still not cool
Oh, really?
and not mainstream. He was mainstream but not mainstream, right? He never left.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
people were going to Graceland and stuff like that. He was still part of pop culture and whatnot. We had some Elvis miniseries. You know, we had Elvis references in, you know, I remember the show Vegas. Their
Yes.
opening credits was Little Less Conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I remember that's why that song today with people in their 30s and 40s, it was, like, so prominent because it's like, oh, well, I heard that song every week. Like, of course I know who Elvis is. And it's like, no, you don't. You know,
Exactly.
because it was so much more than that. And, you know, this stigma, the biggest thing that was, I feel like, for us as Elvis fans, that we knew when stuff started coming out. I'll never forget it. It's so big and within our community, even if it's not completely accurate. Like, I'm going to get up on my soapbox for a minute. The Elvis movie that Bass did the best job that we have ever had with an on-screen Elvis portrayal, and did justice and gave credit where credit was due on so many different levels.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I understand that people that knew him, you know, were like, well, it wasn't authentic. Well, it wasn't meant to be authentic.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. It was meant to bring this man that we all know and love to the forefront of pop culture so that his legacy will never truly die.
Right.
And there was truth in everything, whether it actually happened the way that Baz did it. It's still the truth of it is there. There's truth in it.
Right.
Exactly. And people, I have seen so many different things. Like Watch Mojo is a big thing, right? Big movie reviewing thing.
Okay.
You know, they were like, you know, they literally released videos, and IGN released the videos. Countless TikTok, Instagram reels, and stuff like that. You know, what was actually accurate and what actually happened, right?
Right,
because all the biopics at that time stretched the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it gets the viewer to become a fan of Elvis.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And then it's all of our jobs, people such as yourselves that have a platform, that have a outreach, that get discovered by the younger generation and even just all generations, to educate people on who he was as a person, right? And that's what I said. You know, I was talking to Linda Thompson.
Oh yeah,
I love Linda.
Yeah, me too.
Linda, she we really linked in. She was a judge when I won the Ultimate.
Oh, nice.
And I don't like to tell my Linda story because it's special to me, and I have so many amazing stories as a child growing up and being with these people and the things that I've gotten to do. You know, I got to sing with the Jordanaires. I got to sing with DJ Fontana and Scotty Moore.
Wow.
And I was 4 years old.
Oh.
I didn't know. All my grandma told me, like, they knew Elvis. You got to go up there and you got to sing, because I was like, okay,
so cute.
let's go do it. And you know, the things that I've gotten to do at such a young age, and meeting these people and having these memories and looking back on them now, it's like, oh my gosh.
Right.
You know, I was talking to Linda because Linda had finally watched the movie.
Oh,
right?
Did she? Yeah.
She had finally watched the movie, and you know, she talks about this on her page, right, and whatnot. I love
she's
Priscilla,
sweet. She's so
but
sweet.
I love Linda.
Yeah, I think everybody does. I think that's a
Linda
mutual.
has my heart. Linda, not saying anything, you know, obviously Priscilla still loves him, but you know how you can tell that it's just love, right?
Yeah,
when she talks about him.
We listened to the audio of her book, and
recently,
you could hear it in that. Yeah.
I follow her on social media too, and I know with the Baz Luhrmann movie, she was a little bit upset that they made it look like Elvis only loved one woman in his whole life, you know.
And I understand.
Yeah,
that,
there's just not enough time, you know. Time is the essence.
I said that to Linda. We were in an you know, we met in Tupelo in 21, right after the pandemic had lifted, and it was so huge. I remember. Linda came to Tupelo and judged, which she had not come to an Elvis festival in such a long time, and she just dove in head first. And I mean, like, Linda Thompson, all of us are gawking, all of us are fanboying and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. I came off stage. I had just done a set, That's the Way It Is set. And it was just so amazing because I was back in Tupelo. Tupelo holds such a near and dear place in everybody's heart.
Right.
That festival is just so amazing because it's at his birthplace. They treat you, it's true Southern hospitality, right? You know, you go there. I turn my GPS off when I go to Tupelo.
Nice.
You know, I know where everything is because I
and it's not a real big place, so it's easy to get around on there too. So.
Well, down Main Street and stuff like that. But, you know, it's just so amazing. And I'll never forget, the security team came and got me, and they're like, Linda wants to talk to you. Well, there's people on the they call the blue team staff that are named Linda. And I was like, why do they, I'm just got off stage. I was like, can I please, like, I look like a wet rat.
Right.
Can I just go wipe off? And they're like, no, Thompson. And I stop, and I was like, well, why didn't you just tell me that, you big lug? Like, come on, let's go.
Right.
And they had her roped off because obviously they don't want people to crowd her and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, COVID was still a thing at that point.
Yeah.
So they wanted her to be safe as well. And they escorted me to her. And I'll have to text a picture to you guys so you can see it. I look like the biggest mess known to man because I just got off stage. My hair is a mess and my makeup's a mess. I was so embarrassed, but she was like, I want to see him. And
what'd she say? What'd she say? Tell us.
She was like, you're, and she's so kind.
Oh, I know
was so
she
kind
is, yeah.
to all, not just me, but she was so kind, and she had these moments with all of the guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she said this at the end of the day when she did her conversations with Tom. She goes, and she referenced me and Dean and David
Mm-hmm.
Lee.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she feels like all of the guys bring a certain element of Elvis,
Mm-hmm.
and she. Me and her locked in.
Is
But,
she
like,
meaning your genuine nature? Because obviously you're very.
Yes,
I mean, we've not even physically
absolutely.
met yet, but I think it's your genuine nature. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's what she meant. She was like, when you're on stage, when you're talking to the fans, your heart is exposed. Like, and my heart is exposed. Just
that's
just
sweet.
like, you know, everybody else, every good entertainer is. Like, you know,
Yeah.
whether it was Elvis, whether it was Prince, whether it was anybody, like that is. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
What you see is what you get. You know, and even after winning, like, and before winning, I never acted like I was him. Never in a million years. You know,
right.
I would find ways to throw things that he said on stage into my set as Cody.
Yes. Well, that's your job. Your job is to bring that illusion to the crowd. They want you to see that. They want to see that.
Exactly, but never like saying like some of these impersonators go,
Thank you very much. Yeah, I get
thank you very much. And I'm like, you know, even when I said thank you very much, you know, Elvis wasn't thank you very much. He goes, thank you very much.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's it. It was a short and sweet thing, and he was just thanking the audience, right?
Yep.
Hey, Cody. I got to tell you, the voice works. Because the first time I actually physically met this young lady beside me, I turned on my Elvis in the car.
He did it in a prep. Yeah. We were in a car together, and he leaned over and said something in my ear.
I said, honey, I want to sing "Love Me Tender" right to you.
And I will admit it worked.
It did.
It did work.
Now she's wearing a ring that says so.
Oh, shush up.
I love it.
It did work.
So I guess we got to get into Cody the ETA now. I got to ask you though, when you first professionally started becoming Cody the ETA, did you do the young Elvis, or did you go to the jumpsuit right away? How did it begin, and the professional part of it?
It really didn't start becoming a true career until after I graduated.
Were you even 20 yet?
I was not. I was not 20 yet.
You're just a baby.
I was 18. I was just. What does he say? What does he say? I was a little infant baby.
Yeah,
little infant baby.
But what a cool dream that had to have been, though, Cody. Most kids, when you get out of high school, I'm working at McDonald's, or I'm working at the car wash.
On this, right? Like, when did you know, the Cody the ETA career start? Right? Like, when did that start? Well, I mean, it like you heard before. It was always there, right? It was always a hobby, but it was never a. I'm going to live vicariously through my child's hobby, right? Like, it was always like, we're only going to push as much as you're going to push, right? You know, I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to loop it back. When Grandma passed, she lost her 4th battle with lung cancer.
Oh.
She was going through radiation and chemo. She came back, hospice. She chose quality over quantity at that point. And I was exposed to this at a very, very young age. And, you know, divulging in this and, you know, pulling the curtain back truly, you know, and I don't really get the opportunity to talk about a lot of this, talk about my story, talk about, you know, really in depth. You know, I was the last person that ever talked to my grandmother. I was there. I called 911. I mean, it was a whirlwind. Very traumatic, but yet a very pivotal moment in my life, because it was like, I want to help people. I want to help people. My family was in the volunteer firefighter and EMT, all this different stuff. So I started doing that through the rest of my high school career. You know, that's where I latched on. I started going to training, started to be around it, started to go to the station, all this different stuff. And, you know, that really shaped my path. And I was like, you know, this is a great hobby. I'm not making a lot of money at it. There's not a lot of money in it. My grandfather at the time, he got to get an education, right? Got to get an education. And I was like, okay, you know, I want to go to college for firefighter EMT. And that's what I did outside of high school. For 6 months, I was in firefighter EMT school.
Nice.
Bringing it back to 2016, I did a cruise at the beginning of the year. And two gentlemen by the name of George Trillinger, who did Buddy Holly, and Ed Sullivan, and Elwood Blues, and Hank Williams, and who was the original legend for Legends in Concert back in the 80s. Same thing with Tim Stamper, who did Jake Blues, Big Bopper, Joe Cocker. Were on the cruise with me, and I did my thing. I did my shtick. You know, I was kind of getting more into it and honing my craft. And I wasn't doing just the 50s. I was doing a little bit of both. My love was always the jumpsuit, y'all.
Yeah, yeah.
Always the jumpsuit. Always
I'm a 70s girl. That's where I gravitate to right off the bat.
But you know, they were pushing me into the 50s, the younger Elvis, and you know, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll dig this. So I did the cruise, and I'll never forget it. We were on the we were in the Windjammer. We were eating breakfast, and it was the last day of the cruise. We had one more show. And we had just gotten into the big main theater, because the theater on the cruise ship, the people heard how like great our show was, and we got the opportunity to do it in the main theater for the whole entire ship. The entire ship saw the show.
Oh wow! Nice.
So that was like 4,000 or 3,000 people. Were like, I was like, oh my God, this was the biggest crowd that I played to date. And I'll never forget it. They were like, so what are you doing? Like, where are you going after this? And I'm going back. I said I got leave from college, and I'm going back to finish out college, and you know, I'll come back whenever I need to during the summer. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm training to be a firefighter EMT. And they were like, yeah, you're not gonna do that. And I go, excuse me? And they were like, kid, we're gonna educate you on this. You don't belong in that.
Oh wow.
You belong on the stage with us. And I go, okay. And they're like,
that didn't take long.
You need to go home, and you need to sit your parents down, and you need to tell them that you can do this, and we're going to help you do this. Okay. And I'm like, I'm 18 years old, not even 18 years old at that point, because it was in January. I turned, I was 18. I was about to be 19 that year. And I got off the boat. And I remember sitting in my grandfather's house with my mom and my dad and Papa, and saying to them, I want to try this. I want to try this entertainer thing. And they were like, okay, if that's what you want.
Oh, good.
And I think I made up some excuse. And later, I told a little white lie, which lying is never good. If there's kids watching this, don't ever lie. Don't do what I did. Okay? But I did lie. I did tell a little white lie. I was like, I can't get this certification in time. They're not getting back to me. Knowing full well, like, it was so easy to get this certification or whatever that I needed to do to get through the next stage. And my friend, his name was Ryan McFarland, you know, this is a very deep thing. You know, none of my people, they were supportive at that time, but really my support system locally, my friend group, they were like, no, you need to get a regular education. You're never going to make it at this. That was the point. There was people, you're never going to do, like, this has a shelf life. You're never going to make a career out of this. And I was like, okay, I've got motivation. You know, I got motivation. I got drive, and I want to see where this goes. So I cut them out of my life. You don't believe in me, I'm not going to have negativity. And that was my first point the rest of my life, and the way that I surrounded myself with people. And I still have done it to this day. If you're not for me, then you don't belong in my life, because I'm not going to surround myself with negativity. Honestly, to a point, right? Like, and it just started this snowball effect. And I'll never forget it. I was, you know, my parents got divorced when I was in 5th grade. So I had, you know, I went through that as a child and whatnot. And, you know, I'll never forget, I was kind of like bouncing around house to house, not in a bad way, but I was living with my cousins, you know, and I moved in with my dad out of high school. He's like, why are you bouncing? Why are you staying over there? You have a room here. I was like, okay, yeah, like I'll come over and stay with you, because mom moved in with my now stepdad, and they were living in an efficiency on the river, and mom sold her house, and you know they're both parents are very happily remarried and love both of my step parents beyond a shadow of a doubt. Very lucky. I lucked out on that. You know, again, me and my sister did, and you know, I remember Dad really dropping everything and going on the road with me and traveling with me to these festivals and these contests and helping me make a go of it. And I'll never forget it. 2016, I won my first ultimate prelim in Florida.
Oh, nice.
Full circle with one of the festivals. Like, you could honestly do, like, if I'm really going deep diving into my career, like I'm all over the place doing cliff notes, but Tampa Elvis Fest was always near and dear to my heart. It was one of the festivals that I went to when I was a kid. I found some of my friends in the Elvis industry there. Grandma always loved it. The person who ran it always loved Grandma and my family, and I was their last champion.
Oh, okay.
Full circle moment. First Ultimate Elvis contest to qualify, 2016. My God, you talk about snatching me up from my hair and yucking me in the deep end.
Wow.
I just was like, okay. And I've never really said this, but I knew that I was meant for greatness. I just didn't know how to verbalize it. I just didn't have the right people around me to bring that to the surface, right? Like, I knew that I had a great support system in my family, but never really, like, again, the only person who did this and made this happen for me was me.
Right.
You know, and I say that to so many young guys coming up in this industry. Stop waiting on someone else to do it for you. It's not going to do that. I see this with wrestling too. Our industries are very the same. Everybody, every single great that has come, you know, I just watched a Roman Reigns video of the documentary. He put in the work. He jumped in the deep end. He was the one that made the main event player out of him. I'm the one that, I'm a self-made man. You know, I changed the status quo. I started doing things that were not accustomed to the status quo in the Elvis tribute artist industry. You know, I would go into places for just a headliner slot at that point, you know, and no guaranteed money. I was like, just give me a shot. Like, I know I can do this. Just give me the opportunity to do it. Right. And I'll never forget it. I won my second qualifier, which was a biggie. I won Tupelo. I won the Tupelo Elvis Festival. Cool. And at that time, I had transitioned, y'all, from a jumpsuit Elvis, because I competed all jumpsuit. I was a baby. I think I said I was 19, but I think I was really 18 years old. Had just turned 19, very freshly into it, and I was an 18-year-old, 19-year-old baby trying to portray a 30-year-old man.
Right.
And it just didn't work.
Right.
It just didn't work. I looked like the biggest baby face ever, and I was like, down in Louisiana, and I was like, really? And they were like, oh, he's so cute.
They're
and
like,
I'm like trying to do all this, like,
that's funny.
You know, you know, Elvis was a natural sex symbol in that sense, like with the women, and the guys wanted to be him, and all of this different stuff, right? Like, and it just didn't work. You know what I mean? You can't dress up in an outfit that is just, that displays your build and your physique, you know, and you don't have a physique.
And you're still growing. You're still growing.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, go put some baggy clothes on and go hop around like something.
So they got you to do the 50s thing then? They switched you over?
Really,
okay.
Yeah, and I won Tupelo on all 50s.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And hit that notification bell.
We are your Blue Suede Connection.